The alarm screamed through the halls of the Galactic Council's main station. Ambassador HFY of the Zilani race dropped his morning report and rushed to the emergency center. His blue skin turned pale as he read the incoming messages on his screen. "This cannot be right," he whispered to himself. The Sol quarantine zone was sending out warning signals. For 500 years, the zone had been quiet, dead. Nothing was supposed to live there anymore. The ancient barriers that kept the dangerous area sealed had never failed before. HFY's hand shook as he called the emergency meeting. Within minutes, representatives from across the galaxy were connecting to the communication system. The meeting room filled with worried voices speaking in different languages. "Order. We need order," shouted General Thrak of the Krex Empire. His red scales gleamed under the bright lights. "What is happening at the quarantine zone?" The head scientist, Dr. Valen from the peaceful Valdari people, stepped forward. Her ancient face looked troubled. "The monitoring stations around Sol are detecting massive energy readings. Something is moving inside the zone." "Moving?" Ambassador Yila from the trade world of Nexus asked. "But nothing can live in there. The contamination killed everything centuries ago." Dr. Valen nodded slowly. "That is what we believed. The humans were wiped out by the predecessor technology that went wrong. We sealed the area to protect the rest of the galaxy." The room fell silent. Everyone knew the story. Humans had been a young species, barely able to travel between planets. When the predecessor device activated in their system, it had released deadly energy that destroyed all life. The Council had acted quickly to contain the disaster. "Show us the readings," General Thrak demanded. The main screen lit up with data from the monitoring stations. Energy levels that should have been impossible were coming from inside the quarantine zone. Even more strange, the readings showed organized patterns, like they were being controlled by intelligence. "There must be an error in the equipment," suggested Ambassador Cole from the mining worlds. "Old technology breaks down." Dr. Valen shook her head. "I checked 3 times. All stations are working correctly. Something is definitely happening inside the zone." Suddenly, a new alarm sounded. This one was different, more urgent. "The barrier!" a technician shouted from his workstation. "Section 7 of the quarantine barrier is failing." Everyone rushed to look at the new data. The energy field that had kept the Sol system isolated for 5 centuries was breaking down. But it was not falling apart from age or damage. The readings showed it was being taken apart from the inside, piece by piece, with perfect precision. Who could do that? HFY asked. "The barrier uses predecessor technology. We barely understand how it works, let alone how to remove it safely." General Thrak stood up, his warrior instincts taking over. "We need to send ships immediately. Whatever is in there might be dangerous." "Wait," Dr. Valen said. "If something survived the contamination for 500 years, rushing in with weapons might not be wise." Before anyone could respond, another alarm echoed through the room. This time, it was the long-range scanners detecting approaching objects. "Ships," the scanner operator announced. "Multiple ships approaching the barrier from inside the zone." The main screen changed to show the scanner images. Dark shapes were moving through space toward the weakened barrier. They were large, larger than any ships the Council had ever built. Their design was strange, nothing like the sleek vessels of the Zilani or the heavy warships of the Krex. "How many?" General Thrak asked. Scanning. 37 ships in the first wave. More contacts appearing behind them. The Council members looked at each other with growing fear. 37 large ships meant a significant force, possibly an invasion fleet. But where had they come from? Who had built them? "Try to contact them," HFY ordered. "Use all standard frequencies." For several minutes, The communication officers tried to reach the unknown ships. Static filled the speakers. Then, just as everyone began to think the attempt had failed, a clear voice came through. "This is Captain Sarah Chun of the Terran Expeditionary Fleet," the voice said in perfect galactic standard language. "We are requesting permission to pass through the barrier. We need to speak with the Galactic Council." The room fell into shocked silence. Terran was the old name for Earth, the human homeworld. But humans had been extinct for 5 centuries. Dr. Valen was the first to recover her voice. This is Dr. Valen of the Galactic Council. Who are you? Humans were destroyed long ago. A soft laugh came through the speakers. Reports of our death have been greatly exaggerated. Dr. Valen, we have been waiting for the right time to reintroduce ourselves to the galaxy. Waiting? General Thrax stepped forward. You have been alive all this time? Inside the contamination zone? The zone has been our home for 500 years, Captain Chun replied. We have much to discuss with the Council. We are coming home. The communication ended, leaving the Council members staring at each other in disbelief. This is impossible, Ambassador Cole muttered. Nothing can survive in that contamination. General Thrak was already moving toward the door. I am calling the fleet. We do not know what these things really are. General, wait, Dr. Valen called. If they truly are humans and they have survived this long, perhaps we should listen to what they have to say. Humans were primitive, Thrak replied. If something is pretending to be human, it means deception. Zexai raised his hand for attention. We will prepare for both possibilities. Ready defensive positions, but also arrange for a formal meeting. If they truly wish to speak with the Council, we will hear them. As the Council members began making preparations, Dr. Valen stayed behind, studying the scanner readings. The ships approaching the barrier were massive, their technology clearly advanced. If humans had really survived and built such vessels, everything the Council thought they knew about them was wrong. Outside the station's windows, the first human ship crossed through the weakened barrier. Its dark hull reflected the light of distant stars as it moved gracefully through space. After 500 years of silence, humanity had returned to the galaxy. The question was, what had they become during their long isolation? 3 hours after the first human ship crossed the barrier, General Thrak's fleet reached the intercept point. 20 of the Council's best warships formed a defensive line, their weapons powered but not yet aimed. Behind them, science vessels waited to study whatever they might find. Keep scanners active, Thrak ordered from his command ship. I want to know everything about these vessels. The scanner officer looked confused. Sir, we are having trouble getting clear readings. Their ships seem to be interfering with our systems somehow. What do you mean interfering? The signals bounce back wrong. It is like their hull materials are made of something we have never seen before. Dr. Valen watched from the science ship Bright Star. She had insisted on coming along, despite Thrak's protests. As the most senior Valdari, she remembered more about the old days than anyone else. Her people had lived for thousands of years, and she had actually seen humans before their supposed extinction. Approaching vessels. This is General Thrak of the Galactic Council Defense Force, the general broadcast. You will stop and prepare to be boarded for inspection. The response came immediately. General Thrak, this is Captain Chen. We appreciate your caution, but boarding will not be necessary. We are not hostile, and we request safe passage to the Council Station. You will follow our security protocols, Thrak replied firmly. All unknown vessels must be inspected. General, Captain Chun's voice remained calm. I understand your position. However, our ships are not designed to accommodate non-human atmosphere or gravity. Perhaps we can arrange a meeting in neutral space instead. Dr. Valen activated her own communication system. Captain Chun, this is Dr. Valen. May I ask how you learned our language so well? Humans had limited contact with the galaxy before the incident. A pause. Then Captain Chun replied, Dr. Valen, we have been listening to galactic communications for centuries. We know about the new trade agreements, the mining rights disputes, and even General Thrax's victory over the pirates last year. The bridge fell silent. The implications were staggering. If humans had been monitoring galactic communications, they knew everything about current politics, technology, and military capabilities. How? Dr. Valen asked. The contamination should have destroyed all technology in your system. The contamination changed us, Dr. Valen, but it did not destroy us. General Thrax had heard enough. All ships, prepare to escort the human vessels. If they resist, you are authorized to use minimum force. His ships began moving into escort formation around the human fleet. As they got closer, the differences became obvious. The human ships were not just large. They were built unlike anything in the galaxy. Their hulls curved in smooth, organic shapes. Energy flowed along their surfaces in patterns that seemed almost alive. Sir, the scanner officer called out, I am getting strange readings from their engines. What kind of strange? They are not using any power source we recognize. No fusion, no antimatter, no energy crystals. Whatever drives these ships, we have never seen it before. Dr. Valen studied her own scanner data. The energy signatures were completely alien, yet somehow familiar. Deep in her ancient memory, something stirred. She had seen similar patterns before, long ago. Captain Chun, she called. May I ask what powers your vessels? Another pause. We learned to work with the technology that changed our system, Dr. Valen. The predecessors left us tools. We simply learned to use them. The words hit Dr. Valen like cold water. The predecessors were the ancient race that had built the galactic network millions of years ago. Their technology was far beyond anything the current species could create. Most of it was broken or incomprehensible. That is impossible, General Thrax said. Predecessor technology cannot be controlled by younger species. We have tried for thousands of years. Perhaps, Captain Chen replied, you were not changed enough to understand it. As the combined fleet moved toward the Council Station, more human ships continued emerging from the quarantine zone. Each one was different in design, but all shared the same organic curves and flowing energy patterns. How many ships do they have? Thrax demanded. Still counting, sir. Over 200 have crossed the barrier so far. Dr. Valen felt a chill run through her whole body. 200 ships of unknown capability, crewed by a species that was supposed to be extinct. A species that had somehow learned to use predecessor technology. Captain Chun, she tried again. You mentioned that your people were changed. May I ask how? We adapted, Dr. Valen. When the predecessor device activated in our system, it killed most of our population. But some of us survived. We learned that the device was not a weapon, but a tool. A tool for transformation. Transformation into what? Something better suited for survival in a hostile universe. The communication ended, leaving the Council forces to escort the human fleet in worried silence. As they traveled, more details became apparent. The human ships moved with perfect coordination, never colliding despite their large numbers. Their formation patterns were flawless, mathematical. Sir, the navigation officer reported, they are not following normal space lanes. What do you mean? They are moving through areas that should have dangerous radiation levels. Our ships would need heavy shielding to survive there. Their ships show no signs of damage. General Thrax felt his confidence slipping. These humans, if they truly were humans, had technology far beyond anything the Council possessed. They seemed immune to radiation that would kill other species. They had survived for 5 centuries in an area that was supposed to be uninhabitable. "Dr. Valen," he called to the science ship, "what do you think we are dealing with?" The ancient Valdari was quiet for a long moment. "I think, General, that we are about to discover that our understanding of the universe is much smaller than we believed." As the fleet approached the council station, a new message came from Captain Chun. "General Thrak, Dr. Valen, we will be sending a representative to meet with the council. Dr. Marcus Webb will arrive in a shuttle within the hour." "A shuttle?" Thrak asked. "Through open space?" "Our people are quite adaptable to different environments now," Chun replied. "Dr. Webb is looking forward to renewing old friendships." Dr. Valen's blood ran cold. Old friendships? How could a human know anyone currently alive? "Unless, Captain Chun, how long do humans live now?" The response came with what sounded like amusement. "Much longer than we used to, Dr. Valen. Change has its benefits." As the first human shuttle detached from the fleet and headed for the station, Dr. Valen realized that everything the galaxy thought it knew about life, death, and survival was about to change forever. The humans had not just survived the impossible. They had evolved beyond it. The Grand Assembly Hall had not seen a full gathering in over 50 years. Representatives from every major world sat in the curved rows of seats, their different body types and colors, creating a rainbow of galactic diversity. The air recycling system worked hard to accommodate dozens of different atmospheric needs. Ambassador HFY stood at the center podium, his blue skin darker than usual from stress. The council recognizes Dr. Marcus Webb, representing the human survivors. A tall figure walked into the chamber. At first glance, he looked completely human, just as the old records described. Dark hair, brown skin, wearing simple clothes that seemed normal enough. But something was different about his eyes. They seemed to hold depths that spoke of centuries of experience. "Thank you for agreeing to meet with us," Dr. Webb said. His voice carried clearly through the chamber without any amplification device. "I know this situation is unexpected." General Thrak leaned forward in his seat. "You claim to represent a dead species. Explain how this is possible." Dr. Webb smiled calmly. "Death, General, is often a matter of perspective. When the predecessor device activated in our system 500 years ago, it did kill 90% of our population. The energy released was indeed deadly to life as we knew it then. Then how did you survive?" Dr. Valen asked from her position in the front row. "We changed. The device was not a weapon, despite what your records say. It was a tool designed to prepare life for something greater. The predecessors left it there for a reason." The chamber buzzed with nervous conversations in multiple languages. The predecessors had vanished millions of years ago, leaving behind technology that no current species could fully understand. The contamination, Dr. Webb continued, was actually a transformation process. Those of us who survived the initial exposure found ourselves adapted to work with predecessor technology. Over the centuries, we learned to control the very forces that had nearly destroyed us. He gestured, and the air above his hand began to glow with soft light. The energy formed complex patterns, similar to the displays on the human ships. Every representative in the chamber leaned forward, some gasping in fear or amazement. "Impossible," whispered the Krex military advisor. "No species can manipulate energy like that." "We could not either once," Dr. Webb agreed. "But change is the foundation of survival. May I show you what our worlds have become?" Without waiting for permission, he raised both hands. The air above the chamber filled with three-dimensional images, more detailed and clear than any holographic technology the Council possessed. The images showed star systems filled with life. Planets covered in vast cities that seemed to grow like living things. Space stations that look more like enormous trees than buildings. Ships moving between worlds in numbers that suggested a population far larger than humans had ever reached. "This is impossible," Ambassador Cole protested. "Our monitors show the solar system is still contaminated. Nothing can live there." "Nothing could live there using the old rules," Dr. Webb corrected. "We learned new rules. The solar system now houses 43 thriving worlds. We have expanded to 17 additional systems within the quarantine zone." Dr. Valen stood up slowly, her ancient mind processing what she was seeing. 17 systems? But the quarantine zone only included Sol. The quarantine zone has grown over the centuries. Dr. Valen, each time we expanded to a new system, we made sure it was properly isolated to protect the rest of the galaxy from contamination. The implications hit everyone at the same time. The humans had not been trapped in the quarantine zone. They had been expanding it, adding new systems while keeping themselves hidden from the rest of the galaxy. "You have been watching us," General Thrak realized. "For centuries." "Yes, General. We have monitored galactic affairs quite closely. We know about the Zelani trade disputes with the Rim worlds. We know about the Krex expansion into the asteroid belt. We know about the pirate attacks on shipping lanes that you so skillfully ended last year." The room erupted in shocked voices. Every major political event, every secret military operation, every private trade deal, the humans have been observing all of it. Why? Zexai demanded. "Why watch us in secret? Why not reveal yourselves?" Dr. Webb's expression grew serious. "Because we were not ready. The transformation process took time. We needed to understand what we were becoming before we rejoined galactic society." "And what have you become?" Dr. Valen asked, though she feared the answer. "Guardians," Dr. Webb replied simply. "The predecessors did not vanish, Dr. Valen. They ascended to something beyond physical existence. But before they left, they prepared tools to protect the younger species that would follow." He gestured again, and the images changed. Now they showed vast fleets of the strange human ships. Space stations armed with weapons that defied understanding. And technology that seemed to blend science with what could only be called magic. "The contamination zone was not a prison," he continued. "It was a nursery. A place for us to grow into something capable of facing the threats that exist beyond the edges of known space." "What threats?" General Thrak asked, though his voice had lost its earlier confidence. "The same threats that forced the predecessors to ascend, General. Things that exist in the dark between galaxies. Things that view organic life as resources to be consumed." The chamber fell silent. The idea of threats beyond their galaxy was terrifying. But the way Dr. Webb spoke made it clear these were not theoretical dangers. "You are saying," Dr. Valen said slowly, "that humanity spent 5 centuries becoming a guardian species for the galaxy." "That is correct. And now we are ready to take on that responsibility. But we cannot do it alone. We need the cooperation of all galactic species." Ambassador Cole laughed, though it sounded nervous. "You expect us to follow the lead of a species that was primitive 5 centuries ago?" Dr. Webb turned to look directly at him. "Primitive, Ambassador? Perhaps. But we learned from our near extinction. We learned that survival requires adaptation. We learned that sometimes what appears to be disaster is actually opportunity." He paused, then continued. "We also learned that the galaxy is far more fragile than any of us realized. The predecessors left us more than transformation technology. They left us knowledge of what is coming." "What is coming?" Zexai asked. "The harvesters return every 1,000,000 years," Dr. Webb replied. "They are approaching the galaxy again. Our monitoring stations have detected their advanced scouts in the outer darkness. They will arrive in approximately 50 years. The chamber erupted in panic. Species that had been arguing with each other for centuries suddenly realized they faced a common threat beyond their understanding. Dr. Webb waited for the noise to die down, then spoke again. This is why we revealed ourselves now. 50 years is enough time to prepare, if we work together. But only if we work together. General Thrak stood up, his warrior instincts taking over. What do you propose? Integration, Dr. Webb replied. Trade agreements that will allow us to share our technology. Military cooperation to build defenses. Scientific collaboration to understand and prepare for what is coming. And if we refuse? Ambassador Cole asked. Dr. Webb's smile was sad but determined. Then we will protect the galaxy anyway. But it will be much harder without your help. And many worlds that could be saved will be lost instead. As the representatives looked around the chamber, they realized their universe had changed forever. Humanity had not just survived extinction. They had evolved into something beyond their understanding, something that now stood between them and dangers they could not imagine. The question was no longer whether they could trust the humans. The question was whether they could afford not to. General Thrak paced in his private command center aboard the warship, Iron Fang. The meeting with the humans had ended 6 hours ago, and he could not stop thinking about their claims. A species that could control predecessor technology was dangerous beyond measure. A species that had been watching the galaxy for centuries was even more dangerous. Sir, his aide commander Vex approached carefully. The War Council is ready for your decision. Thrak nodded grimly. The Krex Empire had not become the strongest military force in the galaxy by waiting for threats to grow larger. Sometimes the best defense was a quick attack before the enemy could prepare. Send the message to all fleet commanders, Thrak ordered. Operation Steel Storm is approved. We strike the human fleet before they can return to their quarantine zone. The Krex had spent centuries building their military power. 300 warships formed the core of their grand fleet, supported by 1,000 smaller vessels. Each ship carried weapons capable of destroying entire cities. Their crews were trained warriors who had never known defeat. Within 2 hours, the fleet was moving. They approached the human vessels, which remained in formation near the council station. The humans had only 40 ships in their forward group, far fewer than the Krex force. All weapons charged and ready, reported the weapons officer. Targets locked. General Thrak opened a communication channel. Dr. Webb, this is General Thrak. Your presence in this galaxy threatens the security of all species. You will surrender your ships immediately or face the consequences. The response came from Captain Chun. General, this action is unnecessary. We have no desire for conflict with any galactic species. You claim to have technology beyond our understanding. You claim to have been watching us for centuries. These claims make you a threat that cannot be ignored. General Thrak, Dr. Webb's voice joined the conversation. Please reconsider. Military action will accomplish nothing except the loss of life. Surrender now, or we will take your ships by force. A long pause, then Captain Chun replied. We cannot surrender, General. We have responsibilities that prevent us from allowing our technology to be captured. Then you have chosen destruction. Thrak cut the communication and turned to his weapons officer. Fire. The Krex fleet opened fire with everything they had. Energy beams that could cut through ship armor like paper. Missiles that could crack planets. Plasma cannons that burned at the temperature of stars. The combined firepower was enough to destroy any fleet in the galaxy. The weapons struck the human ships and simply disappeared. What happened? Thrak demanded. Why did our weapons have no effect? Sir, the weapons officer's voice shook. The energy readings show our weapons never reached their ships. Something absorbed or redirected every shot. On the main screen, the human ships began to glow with the same organic light patterns they had seen before. But now the light was brighter, more intense. Sir, detecting massive energy build up from the human vessels. Evasive action, Thrak ordered. All ships scatter. But before the Krex ships could move, the space around them began to change. Waves of energy spread out from the human vessels, not as weapons, but as something else. Something that made electronics stop working and engines shut down. Engine failure across the fleet, reported the communications officer. All ships are dead in space. How is that possible? The energy field they created. It is not destroying our systems. It is making them stop working temporarily. Like they are sleeping. General Thrak watched in horror as his entire fleet became helpless. 300 of the most powerful warships ever built, reduced to floating metal in minutes. Not destroyed, just stopped. "This is Captain Chen," came a voice over the communication system, though it should not have been working. "General Thrak, your crews are safe. Your ships are undamaged. We simply removed their ability to cause harm." "How are you speaking to us?" Thrak demanded. "Our communication systems are offline. We are speaking directly to your mind, General. One of the abilities we developed during our isolation." The implications terrified Thrak more than the disabled ships. If humans could speak directly to minds, they could probably do much more than just communicate. "What do you want?" he asked. "We want to help you understand something important." Dr. Webb's voice joined the mental conversation. "Your ships will be functional again in 1 hour. Your crews are completely safe. But we need you to understand that this conflict was unnecessary. You could have destroyed us." "Yes, General. Easily. We could have destroyed your entire fleet, your home worlds, your entire empire. We could have done it at any point in the past 2 centuries. The words hit Thrak like cold steel. The humans had been watching the Krex empire grow, had seen their military buildup, had observed their expansion. And they could have stopped it all any time they wanted. Why did you not? "Because destruction is not our purpose," Captain Chai explained. "We are guardians, not conquerors. We protect life, we do not destroy it." Dr. Webb continued the explanation. "Every species in the galaxy could have been eliminated by us decades ago. The Zilani trade networks could have been shut down with a thought. The mining operations could have been stopped instantly. But why would we do such things?" "To rule the galaxy," Thrak replied, though his voice lacked conviction. "General, we already rule systems that contain more resources and population than the entire current galactic civilization. We have no need for conquest." Images began forming in Thrak's mind, shared by the humans. He saw worlds within the quarantine zone, covered in cities that made the greatest Krex strongholds look like small villages. Space stations larger than moons. Technology that turned matter into energy and energy into matter at will. "You have been playing with toys," Dr. Webb said gently, "while we learn to reshape reality. But that does not make you less valuable to us." "What do you mean?" "Every species has gifts, General. The Krex have courage and tactical skill. The Zilani have diplomatic wisdom. The Valdari have long memory and patience. These qualities will be needed in the coming war." Captain Chan's voice became more serious. "The harvesters do not negotiate, General. They do not accept surrender. They consume everything living and turn it into fuel for their machines. When they arrive, every species will need to fight or be destroyed. And you believe we can make a difference in such a war? We know you can. Your people's warrior spirit, combined with our technology and resources, could save millions of worlds that would otherwise fall." General Thrak felt his anger fading, replaced by a growing understanding of the situation. "You are offering partnership, not conquest." "Yes, General. We are offering you the chance to become something greater than you ever imagined possible." "What would this partnership involve?" Dr. Webb's mental voice carried detailed information. Trade agreements that would give the Krex access to technology beyond their dreams. Military cooperation that would turn their warriors into an unstoppable force for protection. Scientific advancement that would extend their lives and enhance their abilities. And if we refuse, then we will protect your empire along with the rest of the galaxy, Captain Chen replied. But it would be much easier and much more effective if we worked together. As if to demonstrate their point, the human ships began moving among the disabled Krex vessels. But instead of boarding or attacking, they were doing something else. Energy flowed from the human ships to the Krex vessels, and one by one, the disabled systems came back online. Your fleet is being repaired and upgraded, Dr. Webb explained. The damage from forcing your systems offline has been corrected. Your ships are now better than they were before the attack. General Thrak watched his instruments come back to life, but they were showing readings beyond anything he had seen before. His ship's weapons were more powerful, his shields stronger, his engines faster. This is impossible. This is a gift, General. A sign of good faith. Your ships are now enhanced with basic human technology. This is perhaps 1% of what we could share with willing allies. The general sat back in his command chair, overwhelmed by the magnitude of what had just happened. In the span of 2 hours, he had learned that his mighty fleet was helpless against human technology, that humanity could have conquered the galaxy centuries ago, but chose not to, and that they were now offering partnership instead of demanding surrender. General, Captain Chun's voice carried a note of concern. We detect medical emergencies among some of your crew. The mental communication process can be taxing for species not adapted to it. May we provide medical assistance? Without waiting for permission, energy began flowing through the ships again. Thrak felt strength returning to his body, and his medical officer reported that crew members who had been struggling with the mental contact were suddenly feeling better. You healed us, Thrak realized. Our medical technology could not handle the effects of mental communication, so you fixed the problem. Life is precious, General. All life. That is the lesson we learned during our transformation. Every being has value. General Thrak made his decision. Dr. Webb, Captain Chun, I formally request that the Krex Empire be considered for this partnership you describe. Approved, General. Welcome to the new Galactic Alliance. As the two fleets moved together toward the Council Station, General Thrak realized that the balance of power in the galaxy had not just shifted. The Council Chamber had never been so full. Representatives from every inhabited world sat in the expanded seating areas, their voices creating a constant buzz of conversation in dozens of languages. The vote to formally lift the soul quarantine was only hours away, but the real discussions were about what would happen next. Dr. Valen stood at her observation post, watching the interactions below. In the 3 weeks since General Thrak's fleet had returned with tailies of human capabilities, everything had changed. Trade delegations were already negotiating agreements. Military advisors were studying new defense plans. Scientists were requesting access to human research facilities. Nervous? Dr. Webb appeared beside her without making a sound, another demonstration of the subtle abilities humans had developed. Fascinated, she replied. In all my centuries, I have never seen the galaxy unite so quickly around a common purpose. Fear has a way of bringing people together, but so does hope. Ambassador Zexhai called for order, and the chamber gradually quieted. The council will now vote on Resolution 2847, the formal lifting of the soul quarantine zone and the recognition of the Terran Federation as a sovereign galactic power. The voting was swift and unanimous. Every species, from the largest empires to the smallest colonies, voted in favor. The quarantine that had lasted 5 centuries was officially ended. Dr. Webb, HFY announced. On behalf of the Galactic Council, I formally welcome humanity back to galactic society. Applause filled the chamber, but Dr. Webb raised his hand for attention. Thank you, Ambassador, but I must share some additional information that will affect our future together. The chamber fell silent. Over the past weeks, every revelation from humanity had changed their understanding of the universe. The quarantine zone will remain partially closed, Dr. Webb announced. Not to keep humans in, but to keep other things out. What other things? General Thrak asked. His voice carried new respect that had not been there before his encounter with the human fleet. During our isolation, we made contact with other species. Species that were thought to be extinct, just as we were. Images appeared in the air above the chamber, projected by human technology that made their best holographic systems look primitive. The images showed creatures unlike any current galactic species. Some were clearly organic, others appeared to be made of living crystal, and still others seemed to shift between different forms of matter. The ethereal collective, Dr. Webb explained. Beings that exist partially outside normal space. They were thought destroyed by cosmic radiation 3 million years ago. A new image showed massive creatures that looked like living ships. The void swimmers? Giant beings that travel through dark matter. Declared extinct after the collapse of their home dimension. More images followed. The crystal gardens. The shadow weavers. The time touched. Dozens of species that the galaxy believes are gone forever. Dr. Valen felt her ancient heart racing. Where are they? Safe, hidden, protected in pocket dimensions and altered space-time areas throughout what was the quarantine zone. They survived their near extinctions the same way we did. By changing, the implications staggered everyone present. The quarantine zone was not just humanity's home. It was a refuge for species that had evolved beyond normal existence. How many? Ambassador Cole whispered. 47 species that achieved some form of transcendence. 63 others that adapted to survive in altered environments. And all of them are now our allies. Captain Chun's voice joined from the communication system. The alliance was not planned, but it became necessary. When species evolve beyond normal existence, they face challenges that normal civilizations cannot understand. We learned to work together for mutual protection. Protection from what? HFY asked, though his voice suggested he already feared the answer. The same thing that destroyed or scattered all of our species originally. The harvesters. Dr. Webb gestured, and new images appeared. These showed things that hurt to look at directly. Mechanical constructs the size of moons, covered in organic components that pulsed with dark energy. Ships that seemed to be made of screaming faces. Weapons that destroyed matter at the atomic level. The harvesters are not from our galaxy, Dr. Webb continued. They come from the spaces between galaxies, where matter and energy follow different rules. Every million years, they sweep through inhabited regions, consuming everything living and using it to fuel their expansion. The predecessors, Dr. Valen breathed. They did not ascend. They fled. The predecessors tried to fight. Their technology was far beyond anything that exists now. But they realized they could not win through force alone. So they created the transformation devices and scattered them throughout the galaxy. To create guardians, General Thrak realized. To create survivors. Species that could adapt to survive what was coming. Species that could evolve beyond what the harvesters expected to find. The chamber erupted in worried conversations. But Dr. Webb continued speaking over the noise. The advanced scouts arrived in our outer monitoring networks last week. The main harvester fleet will reach this galaxy in 47 years, 8 months, and approximately 12 days. Silence fell again. 47 years seemed like a long time, But everyone understood that preparing for a threat of this magnitude would require every moment of that time. What do you propose? Zexai asked. Integration. Not just trade agreements or military cooperation. Full integration. We share our technology, our knowledge, our capabilities. In return, every species contributes what they can to the defense effort. You are asking us to become like you, Ambassador Cole observed. We are offering to help you become the best versions of yourselves. The Krex will become better warriors. The Zilani will become better diplomats. The Valdari will become better keepers of knowledge. Each species will enhance their natural gifts. Dr. Valen stepped forward. What about those who cannot or will not change? They will be protected. Every world, every species, every individual life that can be saved will be saved. That is our promise. Captain Chun's voice carried new urgency. But the integration must begin immediately. 47 years is not long enough to build the defenses we need using current galactic technology. What do you need from us? General Thrak asked. Everything. Mining rights to extract materials for new ship construction. Scientific cooperation to adapt our technology for other species. Military coordination to train combined forces. Diplomatic agreements to ensure unity when the crisis comes. Dr. Webb raised his hand, and suddenly everyone in the chamber felt a presence in their minds. Not invasive or controlling, but offering connection. This is what we offer, he said. Not conquest, but partnership. Not domination, but cooperation. Join your thoughts to ours, just for a moment, and see what we can accomplish together. One by one, the representatives accepted the mental link. Through it, they saw the true scope of human capabilities. Cities that existed in multiple dimensions. Ships that could travel faster than light without using normal space. Weapons that could reshape matter at will. Medical technology that could extend life indefinitely. But more than the technology, they saw the purpose behind it. The absolute dedication to protecting life. The willingness to sacrifice for others. The determination to ensure that the harvesters would never again destroy entire civilizations. Will it hurt? A small voice asked. The representative from one of the minor rim worlds, a species that had never been involved in galactic politics before. Change always involves some discomfort, Dr. Webb replied gently. But we will help you through every step. No one will be forced to change more than they can handle. And if we say no, then you will still be protected. But you will always wonder what you might have become. The voting began immediately. Species after species chose to join the integration program. The Krex wanted enhanced military capabilities. The Zilani requested advanced diplomatic and communication tools. The mining worlds asked for technology to extract resources safely from dangerous environments stocked by the end of the day. Every major power, and most of the minor ones, had signed integration agreements. The galaxy had united under human leadership, not through force or threat, but through the promise of becoming something greater than they had ever imagined. Dr. Webb, Dr. Valen approached as the session ended. May I ask you something personal? Of course. Do you miss what you used to be? Before the change? Dr. Webb considered the question carefully. We remember what we were, but we do not mourn it. The humans who died in the transformation are still part of us, in our memories and our purpose. The humans who survived became something that could protect not just our own species, but all life in the galaxy. And you believe this is what the predecessors intended? I believe the predecessors understood that evolution requires pressure. They gave us the tools to survive that pressure. What we chose to do with those tools was up to us. As the representatives filed out of the chamber, Dr. Webb looked up at the great windows that showed the stars beyond. Somewhere in the darkness between galaxies, ancient threats were approaching. But for the first time in millions of years, they would find a galaxy ready to fight back. Captain Chun, he called mentally to the fleet. Yes, Dr. Webb. Begin Phase 2 of the Defense Initiative. It is time to awaken the sleeping giants.